Hi, I'm Paul, and I am not a Goldbug. My direct experience with a U.S. presidential candidate and fake altruism around the holidays. Have you ever noticed that around the holidays, politicians step up their kind-heartedness and their public service, especially to the destitute and to the poor? But is it even real? Please consider my direct experience. That's right. I've got 6 or 7 points to make today. And before anybody says, oh, $50, how come it takes so long to get your point? Well, the whole video is a point, right? I'm trying to explain a few things about why I call people out, why I call things as they are. Because, are people just this oblivious to what happens in reality and what goes on? Because first of all, let me just say my first point that anybody who works at like a social service agency, especially one that deals with like food, like a food pantry or like a soup kitchen or a community kitchen as they're called now. Now this has probably changed since I was back in it somewhat. But the holidays can be a very stressful time for people who work in social service agencies. And one of the reasons is because people who generally do bad things all year long, for some reason, I guess they feel guilty about what they've done all year. They probably don't feel guilty. They just feel selfish and self-centered. And they want to give back during the holidays. And, it's a side tangent to say, where are these people in the middle of the summer when the help is truly needed? Because there's nothing. But that's neither here nor there. People who do good things just do good things all the time and all year long. And selfish, greedy, vile people all of a sudden have to do something during the holidays. And it creates a lot of stress for the people that work in the social service agencies. But it also means that during the holidays, not only is there need all year round, but the worst of the worst come out to help. And perhaps it's the trendy, cool thing to do. I don't know. But whatever. No need to go on to a side tangent on that. Point number 2. If people want to know why I don't have faith in any modern day politician or the modern day American political system, this is just one of the reasons, one of the reasons why I have this worldview that I have. I think that people in general are selfish and greedy and have ulterior motives first. What do I get out of it? And only from time to time does anybody do something good helping others. Even people who have created nonprofits and have created missions and have created all this stuff, right? It doesn't mean that the person and the people behind it are not vile. All these foundations and all this. My goodness. So this is also extra true that people are generally greedy and selfish and have ulterior motives. It's extra true when it's super duper true when it comes to politicians, right? And yeah, extra super duper double true for certain types of politicians, like lawyers who become politicians or actors and actresses who become politicians. But because in my opinion, we don't need more laws, we need less laws. And we don't need less laws that are of the blanket statement, carte blanche variety, right? This is not what we need either. So, I have no hope in the modern American political system until after socioeconomic collapse. And even then, it's only the tiniest bit of hope because can we survive it and who are we going to entrust in putting the pieces back together? And yeah, that's a side tangent too. Going on to point number 3. People forget that I called President Trump losing re-election. I called the Trump losing the 2020 election all the way back in January of 2019. Like a year and 10 months before the 2020 election. I'm going to link this article that I found on archive.org that are almost 2 years before the election. This is another reason why people don't like me. And people think I'm anti-Trump. I'm not anti-Trump, right? I don't have any faith in any modern day politician at any level, from the homeowners association all the way up to the federal level. I don't. And my working theory at the time was that Trump was going to be the fall guy. I wrote that in January of 2019. I took a lot of heat for what I talk about with Bitcoin because I had to talk about the markets and the economy, gold and silver, finance, stuff like that. took a lot of heat for what I said about Trump because, I had to talk about the markets and the economy. And like it or not, that meant writing about Trump, telling the truth. But yeah, I called, just like I'm the only person who got silver in the teens call after Wall Street silver popped up as it was popping off, that hype train, and the silver squeeze, which can't happen, which I've explained before. But I'm the only person who called silver in the teens. I called Trump losing 2020 in January 9th, 2019, and I never flip-flopped on that call. Who in the gold and silver space got that call right? And when did they make that call? I don't think anybody in the gold and silver space got it right. Everybody was so sure. People forget these little things, right? They forget these little things. But I'm going to link this article below. It was called like Trump the Fall Guy or something. It's on archive.org. You can still find it. But yeah, I called that. Of course. Always early, rarely wrong, right? Story of my life. But neither here nor there. I'm moving on to point number 4. In 2007, I was running the soup kitchen in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Now, what I'm going to talk about, I know there's video footage of this because I watched it at the time. You can see me in the background. And I can't find this information online, right? The internet is not what it used to be. It's locked down. It's corporatized. It's marketing. It's the information you need is not readily available, and the search functionality is harder and harder. I'm not going to spend more than, I've already spent like over an hour trying to find this. I'm not going to spend all day to find this, right? I have a life. I have a full-time job. I have a family. I have things to do. Trying to make YouTube videos. Someone wants to put in the grunt work to find these videos, this news coverage. Be my guest. Help me out. As a matter of fact, help me out by subscribing to my channel, liking this video, and sharing this video. But in 2007, I ran the soup kitchen in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Right there in downtown Chapel Hill. And yeah, this is why I could never, this is why the holidays were always so stressful. Because the worst of the worst come out during the holidays, and they just have to help, and they just have to serve on Thanksgiving, or they just have to do something on Christmas, or they just have to do this or that. Bunch of fakes, frauds, phonies, and worse. People wonder why I use that term. But there is news coverage of this event. I'm having trouble finding it. Remember, this is 2007, so this is a little bit better archiving on YouTube, although they memory hole stuff now, and I do think that archive.org has, in fact, been co-opted. I don't think is the good word. Compromised, that's the better word, just like Wikipedia, although Wikipedia was never a source. I mean, although that's what Google links to below when they flag things for conspiracy theory, which is weird. But anyway, there is news coverage of this. When I was running the Chapel Hill Soup Kitchen in 2007, I worked for the Interfaith Council for Social Service. And there is news coverage. Now, let me get into the crux of the point. Around the holidays in 2007, there were 3 leading Democrat presidential candidates during the primaries. This is where we are right now, folks. This holiday is 2023 with the election in 2024. This is like where we are in the timeline, right? In the cycle, right? So this was like a year before the election. And it was still the front runners, the Democratic candidates. So at the time, it was the 3 main front runners in 2007 were Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and John Edwards. Now, John Edwards is a Tar Heel. He is very comfortable and very at home in Orange County, North Carolina, which is where Chapel Hill is. And I think he has like a 30,000 square foot house in Orange County or something like that, but I'm not exactly sure. I do remember there was like coverage of him like building this mega house or whatever, but I don't know if he still has it because this was like before the fall from grace or whatever you want to call it, however you want to label it. And I'm rambling again. He was feeling altruistic, well, giving the facade of altruism, and around this time, Thanksgiving week, I mean, I realize we're not in Thanksgiving week 2023, but at the time, it was Thanksgiving week in 2007. So he was talking about hunger a lot. He was talking about, poverty, talking about feeding, talking about the homelessness, talking about meals, talking about food pantries, talking about all this stuff, right? So I don't remember how much lead time that I had, but at the time he was interacting with the nonprofit. The campaign was. And it was around Thanksgiving week. I think it was that Tuesday. I don't remember how much lead time we were given. It couldn't have been more than just like a day or two. And we were told to keep it quiet, keep it hush hush. And because he's coming. And basically, when you have something like this happening, it creates massive, massive headaches. So this is my show and tell today, because I was going to look for like some imitation vanilla. We don't have any. We have real vanilla. I was going to use some like Coke Zero or some like Pam butter spray. But you see, those are actual things. And even though they're ersatz substitutes, in my opinion, like imitation vanilla, Coke Zero, Pam butter flavored spray, even though those are ersatz substitutes, they're still substitutes, right? So I was trying to figure out like how this altruism is, this fake altruism, this fake kindheartedness, this fake public service, this fake giving to the community. And the best that I can come up with is this little magnet clip here. Because, you see, at least Coke Zero you can drink, and at least imitation vanilla you can use in a recipe. But, you see, when politicians do social service in this capacity, it's a drain on the agency. It's a drain on the employees. It causes problems. It means that the homeless and the poor and the destitute get even worse service when this public service is happening. So it's kind of like this clip, and putting this clip on your finger and then keeping this clip on your finger all day, right? Because it's going to become annoying after a while. You're going to get like your blood circulation cut off probably, even though this isn't the strongest spring. It's probably going to cut off some circulation after some time. You're not going to be able to use your hand like you normally could, so you're going to be less efficient. So this is the analogy, folks. Imagine putting this on your finger all day. Now, don't let anybody do this because this isn't like what to do, but so instead of helping, this would harm if I left this on my finger all day and tried to do everything that I do all day long. So that's the show and tell for today, right? It's like this is what this is comparable to. It's not neutral. It's not net neutral. It's a energy drain. It's a hindrance. It's a net negative. That's what the public service is during the holidays that you see. Now, there's also, I think, national coverage, or maybe the local news did like combined coverage, like a compilation, because it's all the same, right? Barack Obama did this around Thanksgiving in some capacity. Hillary Clinton did this around Thanksgiving in some capacity. And I remember because I was watching the news at the time. And the smartest people worked in the soup kitchen, a lot of UNC professors and all this and all that. Now, there are a lot of good people that were there, I will say that. But just in general, yeah, because my point with that is the intellect and the mental stimulation of being in that place was fascinating, right? I learned just as much from the most drugged out, illiterate, homeless guy as I did from, the tenured UNC professors that dressed like bums, right? So fascinating times, but the fake altruism is there. This fake public service is there. So we were given a day, maybe two. Hey, John Edwards is coming down. So it's like, oh, great. Now I got to deal with this. So, got to make sure it's extra clean in there. Got to make sure the homeless aren't really around, right? God forbid that the people you're trying to serve are actually there, because like real homeless, right? Like the cops used to come to the homeless shelter all the time for various things, emergencies, violence, all of that stuff, right? And they used to tell us we're scared to come here, right? I had to work there every day, and I enjoyed it every minute, and I think I would make a difference, right? I actually started a grassroots food pantry with one of the churches in Carborough, North Carolina. No, it would have been in Chapel Hill. I don't know if it was in Chapel Hill or it was in Carborough, but one of the poorest churches. And it's funny, too, because like the poorest churches in the poorest neighborhoods, they're the ones that actually help the most. And the ritziest, most luxurious money churches, they're the ones that are the stingiest. Go figure, folks. But that's neither here nor there. The holidays was a stressful situation, and now I had this dog and pony show to deal with on Thanksgiving week because the election campaign was heating up. Who was going to be the ultimate Democrat candidate? This was before the Obama solidified himself, if you want to call it that. And that's the other thing, right? I don't pinpoint I accept that politics have been totally corrupt. People want to talk about the system is rigged. It's not something that just happened in 2020, folks. It's not something that just happened in 2016, folks. It's something that's been going on for decades and decades and decades and decades. If you want to talk about where I would pinpoint the turning point in the United States where socioeconomic collapse became baked into this cake, I'd pinpoint it at 1913, simply. Why? Because in 1913, we still had honest money, circulating gold and silver coinage. And that's when the Federal Reserve and the income tax and stuff like that came about in 1913. That's where I would pinpoint. Plus, we're 110 years away from that year now. So, nobody's alive, right? Nobody's alive. Nobody's 110 years old. And if anybody is 110 years old, it's not like they're making a difference, right? So, yeah, this is something that's always been going on, and I'm rambling, and I can't believe I'm rambling this long, and I hope this is making any kind of coherent sense whatsoever. But so all of a sudden, we got this dog and pony show that we got to deal with because John Edwards' campaign is coming, and he's going to serve the public. And here's point number 6. The whole thing, right, for me at the soup kitchen was a 5-minute photo op, right? That's what it was. And one of the things that I remember is they kept saying, don't talk about his hair. He's very sensitive about his hair. Don't mention his hair. Don't look at his hair. Don't blah, blah. They kept saying stuff about his hair, which I find funny and is one of the few things I remember from that. But so, all the news crews are there, the security's there, everything else is there. At this time, I don't think he was a U.S. senator anymore. But it was a 5-minute photo op is what it was. So he came into the soup kitchen. We had him put some cans of food on a shelf, the most simplest basic stuff you can't mess up on or embarrass yourself doing. So had him put a couple cans of who knows what they were, probably green beans or something, but putting a couple cans on a shelf and taking a couple pitchers of ice water to the tables. And we weren't even serving at the time. It was before we were serving because that would have been a mess up right there, right? That would have been a mess up right there. These things are heavily scripted. They're heavily who is involved in this is heavily dictated. It's just disgusting. It's a dog and pony show is what it is. So he comes in for 5 minutes and gets the photo op, gets the video coverage. The news channels get the video coverage. He places a few cans of food on the shelves, take a couple of pictures of ice water to the tables, and that's it. And then he bounces. And who knows, he probably went on to give another speech somewhere or something. But it's just all phony, folks. It's all phony. It's not really giving. It creates more problems than it does help. It's like wearing this thing around your finger all day long, right? This 5-minute photo opportunity talking about, the candidates are giving back during the holidays. Look what they're doing. They're helping out in their local soup kitchen. They're helping out in their local food pantry. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're creating a pain in the butt for the people who work there because they're creating a whole lot of problems. They're not actually helping. They're harming. They're harming. So I don't even know if this made sense or not, but, people were like, how come you talk about other YouTubers in the gold and silver space? Because people need to understand what really goes on. People need to understand the truth about what really happens. That was my one experience with who you could consider at the time a leading presidential candidate. John Edwards was one of the 3 between him, Hillary, and Barack. And we saw how that ultimately ended up. And it's just point number 7, final point. Can't believe I've gone on 19 minutes on basically what is an incoherent ramble, but why should anybody have any hope that any modern day politician at any level can make a positive impact? Period. Why? Why do people waste their time thinking that politicians actually have America in mind, right? And are actually doing something good for America? It blows my mind. It really does. It really does blow my mind. Right? People are selfish first. People are self-centered first. People are vile first. People are working on ulterior motives first. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? Right? People who want change, the only way you can affect change is to starve the beast. You can't fight the beast. You can't change the system. Can't fight the beast. Maybe you do have good intentions. Well, if you do, you won't. You won't. And I don't think people do. I don't think people do. So, yeah, this has been a huge ramble. I don't even know if it made sense or not, but it just goes to show that everything out there is just fake. Everything out there is fake. Everything's fakes, frauds, phonies, and worse. And it's not that it doesn't do any good. It's that it's actually harmful, right? It's harmful. For the person working in the soup kitchen, it creates a whole lot of problems. For the person who is hungry and wants the meal that day, it creates a whole lot of problems. For everybody, it creates a whole lot of problems. It doesn't help anything. It's a negative drain. So I wanted to make this video because we're coming up on the holidays. Next week is Thanksgiving week. And you're going to see it. You're going to see it. Right? Oh, serving Thanksgiving, helping. I mean, anybody can slop mashed potatoes on a plate. I mean, if you do that once a year on Thanksgiving, that could be fun, right? It could be fun. It could be fun. But, where the help is really needed and when the help is really needed, they're not there. People aren't there. This is my strife. This is my strife. This is my struggle. This is my plight. This is my fight, whatever you want to call it, with the markets and the economy and with gold and silver. The real advocacy isn't there. I'm sorry, it's not. So I don't want to ramble too much today. I just wanted to share an experience that I had in 2007. And a lot of it I forget because I've done so much that I forget what I've done and what I haven't done. And bits and pieces, I have to defragment this hard drive in the back of my head and try and retract the information. Not retract. Try and extract the information that's back there. But, yeah, so I don't know. I don't even know what the point was there, but I'm already over 22 minutes. Wow. Sorry if I was rambling, but the overall point is that the altruism is fake. It really is. So we're coming up on the holidays. Look around. Open your eyes. See it. See it. Go visit archive.org and look at the stuff that I wrote. And when I called Trump losing 2020, in January of 2019, I called that. And I never flip-flopped. This is another reason why people want to cancel old half dollar, right? You had to choose sides. You had to choose sides on Bitcoin. And I've been outspoken since the beginning. Go look at all the gold and silver advocates and what they were talking about Bitcoin. Shame on them, really. You had to choose sides in politics. I won't choose sides because I understand what it is, right? And it's hopeless to put any kind of hope in it. In our modern day politics, in the modern day political system. So since I never chose sides in politics, I was labeled anti-Trump. Another reason I was canceled. I wasn't. I was writing about the markets and the economy, pointing things out, and Trump's name would go in there from time to time. Explaining why, right? America wasn't the best it's ever been in less than a year after the 2016 election. Sorry. The dollar has already hyperinflated. Socioeconomic collapse is baked into this cake. All we're waiting for is the outright rejection of the dollar. Going on 25 minutes. Can't believe it. I hope my point came across. I really do. Little chill rant. Not going to say anything else. Wow. Didn't make a whole lot of sense, but subscribe to my channel. Help me out. Want to know why I call out people? Because I have direct experiences with things, right? I have to see it. I have to say it like I see it. And I know people in the gold and silver space, and I see things in the gold and silver space. And somebody has to speak up, and somebody has to say something. Somebody has to say something. Somebody has to call out all this nonsense. They won't talk to me. So I'll just keep stagnating my channel, as people like to say, or keep losing subscribers or not growing my channel, as people like to say, because people need to know the truth. And the truth includes names. It does. That's all I got for you today. Thank you for your time.